Have you ever wondered how a country with a history of poverty and famine became one of the wealthiest countries in the world? In 1847, the artist James Mahoney depicted the dire situation in Ireland during the Great Hunger, where 1 million people, or 11% of Ireland's population, perished. The country remained impoverished with societal unrest, insufficient natural resources, and bad economic policies, earning it the unflattering moniker, the sick man of Europe. However, with a population that's both wealthy and highly educated, Ireland has become one of the richest countries in the world today. So, how did Ireland become so prosperous? Stay tuned to find out how a country that once suffered from poverty and famine has become insanely rich. In 1847, artist James Mahoney created a series of haunting images that captured the bleak reality of Ireland during the Great Hunger. Desperate mothers clung to their starving children, collecting coins for their coffins, while once fertile potato fields lay barren and streets filled with gaunt and malnourished people. Shockingly, a staggering 1 million people, or 11% of Ireland's population, perished during this devastating 7-year period. The disaster left a lasting impact on the country, with societal unrest, insufficient resources, and poor economic policies, leaving Ireland struggling for decades to come. Despite its resilience, the nation remained primarily agricultural and impoverished, earning it the unenviable title of the sick man of Europe well into the 20th century. By the 1970s, Ireland was mired into a cycle of stagnation, and many people were forced to leave their homes in search of better opportunities. However, with a population that's both wealthy and highly educated, Ireland's become one of the richest countries in the world today. Given that Ireland lacked the natural advantages of other prosperous nations, this transformation is impressive. For example, it didn't have other prosperous nations' vast reserves of oil, a sizable population, or a population that had historically been affluent and well-educated. Additionally, Ireland's economy continues to grow at impressive rates that are higher than those of other developed nations. For instance, while other nations' combined GDP grew by 2.76% in 2015, Ireland's growth rate was a startling 25.2%. This makes one wonder how Ireland came to be prosperous and whether that prosperity will last. It is impossible to overstate the severe hardships that the Irish endured in the 19th century. Ireland's people were treated as inferior, while its resources were being exploited under British rule. With laws requiring equal inheritance of land, the Irish economy was primarily based on outdated agriculture, which resulted in smaller plots and lower productivity. Ireland was unable to keep up with neighboring countries because of industrialization was impossible due to a lack of resources and capital. Ireland experienced significant economic costs after gaining independence in a bloody conflict in 1922, including damage from the conflict and a decade-long trade war with its former colonizer and main trading partner, the British Empire. The Great Depression also came as a shock to Ireland, which led to additional poverty and economic harm. Ireland studied the Soviet Union, the only industrialized nation that, thanks to its self-sufficiency, not only survived but also thrived during the Great Depression. The Soviet Union was shielded from outside shocks by its isolation from global trade and finance. Ireland adopted protectionist policies to isolate its economy and achieve self-sufficiency in an effort to end British control, develop its own industries on its own terms, and escape poverty. Ireland took inspiration from the Soviet Union in this endeavor. Major corporations were taken over by the government, which also effectively outlawed most foreign trade and investment. However, looking back, it is clear that Ireland suffered particularly negative effects from economic isolation and protectionism. A small workforce, scarce resources, and an already underdeveloped industrial sector made it difficult to establish or staff necessary industries, which led to the further contraction of the economy and the emigration of 500,000 Irish within a decade. Due to its protectionist policies, Ireland missed out on the post-World War II economic boom, and by the late 1950s, it had fallen even further behind than it had when it first gained independence. The establishment of Shannon Airport's Free Zone was part of a new economic development plan that was introduced by Prime Minister Sean Lemass and economist T.K. Whitaker to correct the failed economy policies. This novel strategy attracted multinational corporations and allowed businesses to avoid high tariffs, transforming Ireland into a global aviation powerhouse. Ireland also significantly lowered its corporate tax rate and employed its Industrial Development Agency to draw well-paying jobs to the region. Ireland experienced significant economic growth as a result of its successful market opening. Additionally, the nation worked towards joining European Economic Alliance, which later opened up for more trade opportunities outside the UK. The free education program was implemented in 1967, which helped raise Ireland's educational standards and end the cycle of poverty. Ireland joined the European Union and its single market in 1993, which resulted in a significant decrease in trade restrictions and prices among members. Ireland reaped many benefits from this, including a fourfold increase in the value of its agricultural exports and access to subsidies and development loans for investment in infrastructure, education, and human capital. Ireland was a desirable location for US businesses looking to relocate or expand their operations, because its inclusion in the European market gave multinational corporations a backdoor to avoid tariffs and taxes. Ireland became a center for high-tech manufacturing, R&D, and financial services thanks to its low corporate tax rates, educated and English-speaking workforce, and advantageous location between the US and Europe. The amount of foreign investment that entered Ireland's economy in the 1990s increased dramatically from 2.2% to 49.2% in just 10 years. Irish workers saw a sharp increase in wages as a result of having more disposable income than ever before, which also resulted in a significant drop in unemployment rates. Taxes remained low, but Ireland's economy grew rapidly, allowing the government to make significant investments in infrastructure and city modernization, luring even more businesses. In order to avoid paying taxes in their home countries, these businesses stashed the profits in Irish banks. As a result, they were able to spend freely and pay relatively little additional tax in Ireland, which sparked an upward spiral of investment. Ireland's economy expanded nearly 6 times as a result, and by 2007 it was 40% richer than its former British ruler and the third richest country in the continent. The downsides to this growth were, though, Ireland's economy became heavily reliant on US banks, corporations, and low interest rates, making it extremely vulnerable to changes in the world economy. Despite increasing, income inequality remained below the average for Europe. Living expenses increased as disposable income rose, and when combined with low interest rates and lax government regulation, the housing market grew in a huge bubble. As a result, private debts increased, and eventually, Ireland's average household debt reached the second highest level in the world. Ireland's economy became vulnerable to global shocks due to runaway government spending and a shaky foundation. The Great Recession's global entry was disastrous, especially for Ireland. Dublin housing prices dropped by 56% as a result of the violent collapse of the US housing market in 2007, which also caused a large number of defaults and a significant increase in the number of unemployed people. The Irish government was in danger of going bankrupt as the entire economy shrank by almost a quarter. In order to prevent this, it was given a bailout by the IMF and the European Union totaling €67.5 billion, or 40% of Ireland's entire GDP. But in exchange, it was required to implement stringent austerity measures. The pay of state employees was significantly reduced, 41 government institutions were shut down, and overall government spending was reduced. Even though the economy stabilized and modest growth picked up again in 2013, it appeared that the Irish economy miracle was coming to an end. But a strange thing happened in 2015. Ireland's economy grew by a startling 25.2% in just 1 year. This number was significantly higher than Ethiopia's, which had the second fastest economic growth that year with a growth of 10.4%. The economists were right to have their suspicions that something was wrong. As part of a long-running tax avoidance scheme, Apple transferred to its Irish subsidiary intangible assets worth $300 billion in that year. Large US multinational corporations use numerous other tools like this one. Ireland has emerged as the biggest tax haven worldwide since the late 1980s. The biggest tax avoidance method, the double Irish, was shut down in 2014, which led to a flurry of business restructurings. In essence, tax evasion revenue caused a sizable portion of Ireland's GDP to be overstated, which is why modified gross national income was chosen as a better indicator. Ireland has now increased corporate taxes and closed all remaining tax loopholes after a new statistic revealed that the country's real economy was 30% smaller than previously estimated. However, because of Ireland's skilled workforce, business-friendly environment, and existing infrastructure investments, multinational corporations continue to remain there. Even though the inflated GDP did not always result in tangible advantages for all Irish citizens, the influx of jobs and technical know-how has increased the nation's general prosperity. For those who are not working for foreign companies in highly skilled positions, the high cost of living is still a problem. In the end, Ireland's economic success was a result of wise policy choices and a bit of luck, proving that GDP numbers by themselves do not always reflect a nation's true prosperity. As we come to the end of this video, it's clear that Ireland's transformation from a struggling, impoverished nation to an economic powerhouse has been remarkable. From the devastating effects of the Great Hunger to the failed protectionist policies of the mid-20th century, Ireland has overcome significant challenges to become one of the richest countries in the world today. By opening up its markets, attracting foreign investment, and investing in education and infrastructure, Ireland has successfully transformed its economy to improve the lives of its citizens. However, there are still challenges ahead, and it remains to be seen how Ireland will navigate them. With the uncertainty of Brexit and the impact of COVID-19, Ireland will need to continue to adapt and innovate to maintain its economic success. Thank you for watching, and please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more informative content.